Hey there, it's James Kalyn from Keeps Me Alive. You're listening to the 1000 Second Album podcast. The song I think you should hear is Basket by Dan Mangan.
Hi, I'm Jeff Stephen, and you're listening to the 1000 Second Album podcast. This season, we'll be talking about must-hear songs as I continue to ask people that are important to me all about the music that's important to them. Enjoy! Please welcome James Kalyn.
Thanks very much.
Nice. And the tune of choice today, James, is Dan Mangan's "Basket." And I
That's
guess
right.
to begin, can you tell me a bit about your personal history with Dan Mangan?
Sure. First time I saw him was the Regina Folk Festival. I think that was 2011. Back then, he was one of those people on the bill for the show. I knew the name, didn't really know anything about him, but we were at the festival all weekend, saw his set, really enjoyed it, and just sort of started listening to more of his music from there.
Nice. And I think I'd be somewhere in the same era. I can't remember the year exactly, but it was that same sort of thing where it was, I ended up at a show here in Kingston where it was Dan Mangan and the Rural Alberta Advantage as
Oh, nice.
both on the bill at just a church, this really nice church downtown in Kingston. And it was one where the friends I was going with were big fans, but it was sort of, I was vaguely aware of the name, and of course left the show being a fan of both of them, to say the least, because they were both outstanding acts. And the song in particular that you chose is "Basket." And what is it about the this song itself? Like, are there certain parts of the song that really speak to you?
Yeah, it wasn't the song that really got me first into Dan Mangan. When you see him live, he does this song Robots is probably his most popular song. There's a big sing-along part. It's really fun. So just wanted to mention that because Basket is really kind of a kick in the feels. Robots might be a little safer choice, but Basket is presented from the position of an older man towards the end of his life, looking back at his life, reflecting on how quick everything went and the memories he has. And he's also aware that he's losing his memories. That's one of the lines in the song. That's the basket of the title is just a basket full of memories and losing more each day. So it's pretty emotional. It's a pretty this guy sort of looking back at again at how fast it all went and sort of wanting to fight against that and fight against losing the memories, but at the same time accepting the inevitability of that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, and it's interesting. The first time I heard the song, I think I was paying more attention to the musical parts of it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's only on repeated listens that it really has that you realize that the story that's being told and the emotional impact of it. And so it's one of those ones where I think it's possible he even, because I think was this album 2009-ish it came out.
About that, yeah.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he even played this tune at the show I saw, but because it wasn't the crowd sing along like robots, it might not have jumped out of the running order. But hearing it several times this week, it really has that emotional impact for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking of the same thing that at the show I was at, he probably played it and it didn't register for me then, but it was a little more focused listening after the fact that really hit me.
Yeah. No, absolutely. On that initial listener to, were there parts musically that jumped out at you and still continue to appeal in terms of the song musical construction?
I mean, musically, if you're not listening to the lyrics, it is just kind of a pleasant little song. It was the lyrics that really there's one part in particular as he's sort of going through his life, he gets closer to the end, and there's the one part, we are old and our son took the dog away, and fair enough, I guess we're tired all the time, and dogs, they need ample time outside. And I think that was what really hooked me because it's so specific. You feel like that had to come, if not from Dan Mangan's life, but someone he knows or something. Because if I was thinking of how to of sort of describing aging and some of the things you feel and some of the things you go through, I don't think that's anything I would have ever thought of. But you hit that, it's just like, yeah, just it's pretty intense and sad, and at the same time you recognize, yeah, this is for the best. But
Yeah. When it happens like that, where you would think if a songwriter makes something very specific, it would be applying to their personal situation and maybe only theirs. But
right.
strangely enough, that specificity actually makes it so relatable.
Oh, for
Where,
sure.
yeah, just describing that particular situation is all of a sudden, yeah, I can totally picture going through that when you hit that stage of life, those tough decisions that people have to make.
And you talked about musically, thinking about it now, there's a way the song builds that, like I said, it's this pleasant little song, but as it gets towards the end and he's talking about wanting to get away, wanting to escape the situation he's in, he doesn't want to stay, he'll, steal a car or a bike, whatever there is to steal, but the music builds with that too and really becomes more intense as well. Just almost, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but it matches the rise of the lyrics, of the emotional nature of the lyrics.
Oh, for sure. And I was when I was scribbling notes about it, I was picturing the song in sort of phases where
Mm,
it's that first minute and a bit's very gentle, very subdued, the nice acoustic guitar propelling things forward. But as the strings come in, it really, like you said, the intensity starts to build, and
mm-hmm.
his singing goes along with it. And those, I love those unending phrases that he does too, where I don't know how he gets the the oxygen to get it all out in one go because there's no breaks, just one keeps
Yeah.
leading right into the next. Have you seen him live again since that initial show?
Okay, so not only have I seen him live about a month ago, he played basket, and when it started, it sort of hit me like, how is this going to feel? Because just by a pure coincidence, that morning, my uncle, who'd been in a care home dealing with dementia and those types of issues, he had passed away that morning. So when he went to play the song, I was like, "Oh, this this might be an awful lot right now." But you'll be pleased to know I retained my manly stoicism throughout.
I can only picture when he gets to that sustained I, like
Hmm.
the till I, like that must just be just overwhelming live, I can
Oh,
picture.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And I find I'm always so amazed when a studio recording can have that intensity to it, just the live, and in his case, like the live would just take it to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. Even the studio recording, you sort of, yeah, it feels to me like he just gave. It wouldn't shock me if you found out like he did one, like, and he just put everything into that one and was like, okay, that's it. We're not doing
Yeah.
not doing another. I can't do another because it's the way it just builds at the end and the intensity right at the end is it's an awful lot.
Oh, absolutely. But then and I but I really like how that I isn't the end though as well. How
Mm,
there's almost like just it wraps it up gently again and adds that final little bit to close it out.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and the I found that the one part of that in particular, at the very end of the song, he strums a chord, and I'm not sure which one it is, but it's this great unresolved chord, and
Hmm.
so I found being new to it over the last little while, it made me want to keep. As soon as I heard that last chord, it made me want to keep going back and listening to it again.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite song of his. One of my favorite songs just in general. And both from the combination of the subject matter, the music, the way the music builds with you, takes you on the ride with the lyrics. It's just a personal favorite for sure.
Yeah. And I guess that sort of takes me into the overall summary question I like to ask, where it's clearly it's indisputably a great song,
Mm.
but what is it you'd say that makes this a must hear song?
I mean, partly, I don't know if it's just that the subject matter is of interest to me, aging, how we deal with the elderly, what their experiences are like. But then again, what I said with the music and the way it takes you through the song, that it builds as the lyrics build, and just gives you this moment of sort of catharsis at the end, but sort of I don't know if it's sort of resignation as well, whatever that everything builds to. But yeah, that's one where the first time I heard it, I just, after it was done, I just kind of had to, like, you know, pause the music and just kind of stop for a second, and then went back to give it another go, because it was just like, okay, I
Yes.
need to hear that again, experience that again, because it's a lot to take in the first time for sure.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you too about the positioning on the album, because I haven't heard the full record yet, but it's from, is it Nice Nice Very Nice?
That's right. Yeah.
And in the running order, it's the penultimate track. And I'm a big fan of sequencing, and when an album is sequenced well, it takes it again, it's that extra layer of appreciation. And it felt like that would be a really good spot for it in the track list, because like you said, it is that the kick in the feels, the emotional
Yeah.
climax. And I wanted to ask you about the song Set the Sails. Is it sort of like a palate cleanser, a denouement afterwards, or what direction does it go on that next tune?
I'd say that's how I find it. Yeah, that it just sort of, how do I put it, like, kind of, you need a moment
Yeah.
after basket. I think it does a good job of giving you that, of just sort of like, sort of settling things back down a little bit.
Yeah, and I remember one of my favorite records is the Smiths' "Queen is Dead," and
Mm.
the ninth out of 10 tunes on that is "There's a Light That Never Goes Out," which is probably their most moving song. And I remember years ago thinking like, oh, why didn't they end with that? It's the best song, it's the strongest, but I think it's for that reason where you need a minute at the end, and the song that comes after feels a bit throwaway potentially, but I think you sort of needed to bring the the energy down a little at the end to sort of, okay, we're ready to move on with the day after that. But if you'd ended on that emotional moment, I don't think it would. I think you still need a little bit of time afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The and did you ever hear? It's funny. I heard him. He's got a nice distinct voice, and I
Yeah.
remember scrolling around on the radio one day, and I end up at CBC. Did you hear his episode of The Debaters?
No, I did not. I didn't know he was on there.
Oh, it's funny. The because it was I came in partway to the episode, and I hadn't I was sort of like, I know this voice, and all of a sudden he started singing Robot. He got the crowd to sing Robots Need Love too. I was like, oh, it's Dan Mangan. And so I guess the debate was music versus poetry, which is more
Oh, okay.
romantic. And I can't remember the who emerged victorious, but I thought his argument was compelling. But yeah, no, he's that's a really solid tune, and I'm really glad you chose that for this year.
Well, as soon as I saw you talk about coming back for the new season of the podcast, this was the first song that came to mind. And then just coincidentally, I happened to see him in concert right around then too. So everything just came together very nicely.
Nice. Very serendipitously, I guess.
Yeah.
That works. I like it. Well, a huge thank you for coming today, James, and until the next time.
Anytime. Glad to be here.
This has been the 1000-Second Album Podcast. Thanks for sharing some of your time, energy, and attention with us today. Take care.